You brought your car in for a weird noise. The mechanic looked at it for 20 minutes, came back, and handed you an estimate. Labor, $680. Parts, $340. Shop supplies, $35. Miscellaneous fee, $25. Tax, total $1,147 for a noise. You stood there holding this piece of paper, doing the mental math on how many hours you'd have to work at your job to pay for this, and you thought the thing that every person thinks in this moment. Am I getting ripped off? Maybe. Maybe not. That's the problem. You have no way to know. You don't know what the repair actually requires. You don't know how long it should take. You don't know what the parts actually cost. You don't know if the diagnosis is correct. You don't know if the shop is being honest. You're standing at a counter, holding an estimate with a car that doesn't work, and you're being asked to trust a stranger with your money based on information you can't verify. This is the fundamental tension of auto repair. You need a functioning car to live your life. You can't fix it yourself, or you think you can't. The person who can fix it has all the information. You have none, and the transaction happens under time pressure because you need the car back. But here's the thing. Most mechanics aren't ripping you off. Most shops are charging fair prices for skilled work that genuinely costs what they say it costs. The problem isn't that mechanics are criminals. The problem is that you don't understand their pricing structure, so you can't tell the difference between a fair price and an unfair one. And that ignorance, that inability to evaluate, is what creates the feeling that you're being taken advantage of, even when you're not. Let's fix that. Let's break down how auto repair pricing actually works, why it costs what it costs, where the real rip-offs live, and how to protect yourself. The first number on your repair estimate that makes your stomach drop is the labor rate. At most independent shops, it's somewhere between $100 and $175 per hour. At dealership service departments, it can be $150 to $250 or more. Those numbers sound absurd. $200 an hour? That's $400,000 a year if the mechanic worked full-time. Nobody's making that. What's going on? The labor rate doesn't go to the mechanic. The labor rate goes to the shop. Out of that $150 per hour, the shop pays the technician, covers the overhead, and hopefully makes a profit. The technician's actual pay varies widely. Experienced certified technicians at independent shops might earn $25 to $45 per hour. Master technicians at dealerships might earn $35 to $60 per hour. Specialists, like transmission rebuilders or diesel techs, can earn more, but the technician is receiving a fraction of the posted labor rate. The rest covers the enormous overhead of running a repair shop, rent or mortgage on the building, property taxes, insurance, liability insurance, garage keepers insurance, workers' compensation, equipment, lifts, scan tools, alignment machines, tire machines, diagnostic computers, specialty tools, utilities, waste disposal for used oil, coolant, and hazardous materials, continuing education and certification for technicians, software subscriptions for repair databases and technical information, office staff and a service writer, the shop's own vehicle fleet for parts runs, marketing, credit card processing fees. Running a repair shop is an expensive business. The margins are thinner than most people assume. A shop charging $150 per hour isn't pocketing $150 per hour of work. They're covering a complex web of expenses that add up to thousands of dollars per day before a single wrench is turned. Think of it like a restaurant. The steak costs $45 on the menu, but the raw steak costs the restaurant $12. The other $33 covers the chef's salary, the kitchen staff, the rent, the utilities, the tablecloths, the dishwasher, the health inspection compliance, the insurance, and hopefully a small margin of profit. You're not paying $45 for a piece of meat. You're paying $45 for the entire infrastructure that turned a raw piece of meat into a prepared meal served to your table. Auto repair works the same way. You're not paying $150 for 1 hour of a person's time. You're paying $150 for 1 hour of a fully equipped, insured, staffed, and regulated repair facility's capacity. Here's where auto repair pricing gets genuinely confusing for consumers, and where most misunderstandings about being ripped off originate. Most shops don't charge you for the actual time they spent on your car. They charge you based on book time, a standardized estimate of how long a particular repair should take, published by industry databases like Mitchell AllData or the manufacturer's own flat rate guide. Every repair operation has a published book time. Replacing front brake pads might be listed as 1.0 hours. Replacing a water pump might be 3.5 hours. Replacing a timing belt on a specific engine might be 5.2 hours. These times are established by timing professional technicians performing the repair under standard conditions and arriving at an average. If the shop's labor rate is $150 per hour and the book time for your repair is 3.0 hours, you're charged $450 in labor, regardless of whether the actual repair took 2.5 hours or 4 hours. This is the flat rate system, and it's how the vast majority of shops operate. The flat rate system creates a dynamic that benefits both parties, in theory. If a skilled technician can complete a 3-hour book job in 2 hours because they're experienced and efficient, they still get credited for 3 hours of work. This rewards expertise and speed. The customer pays a predictable price that was established before the work began. No surprises. The flip side is that if a repair takes longer than book time, because of rusted bolts, unexpected complications, a design that's harder to access than the book anticipated, or a less experienced technician, the shop absorbs the extra time. The customer still pays for 3 hours even if it took 4. The shop and the tech eat the difference. This is where some people feel cheated. You charged me for 3 hours, but I was only here for 90 minutes. Correct. Because the price is based on the job, not the clock. A skilled surgeon who removes your appendix in 20 minutes doesn't charge less than one who takes 40 minutes. You're paying for the outcome and the expertise, not minutes on a stopwatch. Where the flat rate system can become unfair is when shops stack book times on multiple repairs, and the actual total time is significantly less than the sum of individual book times. For example, replacing the timing belt might be 5 hours, and replacing the water pump might be 2.5 hours as a standalone job. But if you're doing both at the same time, the water pump is already accessible because you've already torn down the front of the engine for the timing belt. The actual additional time for the water pump might be 30 minutes, not 2.5 hours. A fair shop will give you a discount on overlapping labor. An unfair shop will charge the full book time for both jobs independently. Ask about overlap when you're having multiple related repairs done. It's a legitimate question, and an honest shop will address it. Why are you charging me $150 just to tell me what's wrong? This is one of the most common complaints in auto repair, and it reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of what diagnosis is. Diagnosis is not plugging in a scanner and reading a code. That takes 60 seconds, and any teenager with a $20 Bluetooth adapter can do it. Diagnosis is identifying the actual failed component or system that's causing the symptoms, and that is a skilled, time-consuming process that often requires expensive equipment and years of experience. An OBD2 code tells you what system has a problem. It doesn't tell you what part failed. A P0171 lean code means the engine is running lean on bank 1. The cause could be a vacuum leak, a bad mass airflow sensor, a weak fuel pump, a clogged injector, a cracked intake manifold, an exhaust leak before the O2 sensor, or half a dozen other things. The code narrows the investigation to a system. The technician has to test, measure, inspect, and think to identify the specific cause. That process might involve checking live data on a professional scan tool, performing smoke tests to find vacuum leaks, testing sensor outputs with a multimeter, checking fuel pressure with a gauge, inspecting components visually, and cross-referencing the symptoms against known issues for that specific vehicle through technical service bulletins and repair databases. It requires knowledge accumulated over years of training, certification, and hands-on experience. The diagnostic fee pays for that expertise and that time. It also pays for the equipment being used. Professional scan tools cost $5,000 to $15,000. Smoke machines cost $500 to $2,000. Lab scopes and multimeters add more. The shop invested in these tools so they can diagnose your car accurately. That investment is amortized across every diagnostic fee they charge. A correct diagnosis is the most valuable thing a shop provides. A wrong diagnosis costs you money. You pay to replace a part that wasn't the problem, the symptom persists, and now you need another diagnosis and another repair. The diagnostic fee is the cost of getting the answer right the first time. It's the opposite of a ripoff. It's the step that prevents you from wasting money on unnecessary repairs. Some shops waive the diagnostic fee if you proceed with the repair. This is a common practice and a reasonable one. The diagnosis becomes part of the repair process. But even if the fee isn't waived, paying $100 to $200 for an accurate diagnosis that leads to the correct repair is infinitely better than paying $0 for guesswork that leads to the wrong one. Every repair estimate includes parts, and the prices on the estimate are higher than what you'd find for the same part online. This markup is normal, expected, and part of how shops stay in business. But understanding it helps you evaluate whether you're being charged fairly. Shops typically mark up parts by 30 to 100% over their wholesale cost. A part that costs the shop $50 might appear on your bill at $75 to $100. The exact markup depends on the shop, the part, and the competitive environment. This markup covers several things beyond the raw cost of the part. The shop maintains relationships with parts suppliers, manages inventory, handles returns and warranty claims on defective parts, and assumes the risk of the part failing. When the shop installs a part and warrants the repair, which most shops do for 12 months or 12,000 miles, they're guaranteeing the part will work. If it fails within the warranty period, they replace it at their expense. That warranty costs money, and the parts markup helps fund it. The markup also compensates for the time and logistics of sourcing parts. The technician or parts manager identifies the correct part, orders it from the right supplier, verifies fitment, receives delivery, and inspects the part before installation. This isn't free labor. It's part of the service. Where parts markup becomes problematic is when shops install the cheapest available part and charge you a premium price, or when they mark up parts excessively beyond the standard range. If a quality brake rotor costs $40 wholesale and the shop charges you $80, that's a normal 100% markup. If they charge you $150 for the same $40 rotor, that's excessive. Having a general sense of what parts cost, easily researched online, helps you evaluate whether the parts pricing on your estimate is reasonable. Some shops allow you to bring your own parts. Most prefer you don't, and here's why. If the part you bring in is defective, incorrect, or lower quality than what the shop would have sourced, the shop still has to install it, troubleshoot any issues it causes, and deal with the fallback when it fails. And they typically won't warranty a repair done with customer-supplied parts because they can't control the quality of what you brought. If a shop does allow customer-supplied parts, they'll usually still charge the full labor rate. You're saving on parts markup but not on installation cost. Most shops are honest. Most mechanics care about doing good work. But dishonest shops exist, and they use specific tactics that you should know how to recognize. Recommending unnecessary repairs. This is the most common form of dishonesty. You came in for an oil change and left with a $2,000 estimate for brake work, a transmission flush, a coolant flush, new cabin and engine air filters, fuel system cleaning, and an alignment. Maybe some of those are legitimate. Maybe none of them are. The tactic is to overwhelm you with a long list of recommended services. Some needed, some premature, some completely invented, and hope you approve them all because you don't know which ones to question. How to defend. Always ask the severity and urgency of each recommended item. Does this need to be done today, or can it wait? A brake job might be urgent if the pads are at 2 mm. It's not urgent if they're at 5 mm. A cabin air filter is a $20 part you can replace yourself in 30 seconds. A fuel system cleaning is almost never necessary on a properly maintained car. If the list feels overwhelming, take the estimate home, research each item, and get a second opinion before approving anything non-urgent. The phantom diagnosis. The shop tells you they found a problem that doesn't actually exist or exaggerates the severity of a real but minor issue. Your engine mount is collapsed. If you keep driving, the engine could shift and damage the transmission. Maybe the mount is slightly worn. Maybe it's fine. You can't verify from the waiting room. How to defend. Ask to see the problem. A legitimate shop will walk you into the bay, put the car on the lift, and show you the worn component. They'll show you the cracked boot, the leaking seal, the worn pad. If a shop won't show you the problem and just tells you to trust them, that's a flag. Part swapping. The shop charges you for a new part, but installs a used or refurbished one. Or they charge you for an OEM part and install an aftermarket one. This is straight-up fraud, and while it's not common at established shops, it happens at shady operations. How to defend? Ask to see the old parts. A legitimate shop will give you the old parts if you request them. If they can't produce the old water pump they supposedly replaced, something's wrong. Also, compare the brand and part number on your invoice with what's actually installed if you're able to check. The bait and switch. You're quoted $400 for a repair. You approve it, and when you pick up the car, the bill is $700. The shop found additional problems during the repair that they fixed without your authorization. In most states, a shop is legally required to get your approval before performing additional work beyond the original estimate. If they didn't call you, they violated your rights as a consumer. How to defend. When you drop off the car, explicitly state, and ideally put it in writing, that any additional work beyond the estimate requires your approval before proceeding. Most states have consumer protection laws that back this up, charging for work not performed. The estimate says they replaced the spark plugs. The spark plugs are the same ones that were in the car when you dropped it off. This is the most egregious form of fraud and the hardest to catch unless you mark your parts or know what the old ones looked like. How to defend. For significant repairs, mark existing components with a paint pen or take photos before you drop the car off. If you're paying for new brake pads, note the brand and condition of the current ones. If the car comes back and nothing looks different, ask questions. The best defense against dishonest shops is not visiting dishonest shops in the first place. Finding a trustworthy mechanic is one of the most valuable relationships you can establish as a car owner. Ask for recommendations. Word of mouth from friends, family, coworkers, and online community groups is the most reliable way to find good shops. People who've had positive experiences over multiple visits are the best source of referrals. Look for certifications. ASE, Automotive Service Excellence Certification, means the technicians have passed standardized competency exams in their specialty areas. It's not a guarantee of honesty, but it indicates a baseline of knowledge and professionalism. AA-approved shops have met additional standards for customer service, facility quality, and pricing transparency. Check reviews, but read them carefully. Online reviews are useful but imperfect. Look for patterns rather than individual complaints. Every shop has a few negative reviews. Some people are unreasonable, and some bad experiences happen despite good intentions. But if you see repeated complaints about the same issue, surprise charges, unnecessary repairs, rude service, that's a pattern worth avoiding. Start small. Before you trust a shop with a $2,000 repair, test them with something small: an oil change, a brake inspection, a tire rotation. Evaluate the experience. Were they transparent about pricing? Did they explain what they found? Did they pressure you into additional services? Did they complete the work on time? A small, low-stakes visit tells you a lot about how they'll handle the big stuff. Get multiple estimates for expensive repairs. For any repair over $500, get at least 2 estimates. You're not looking for the cheapest. The cheapest might be cutting corners. You're looking for consistency. If 2 shops independently diagnose the same problem and quote similar prices, you can be reasonably confident the diagnosis is correct and the price is fair. If one shop says you need a $3,000 engine repair and another says you need a $200 sensor, those can't both be right. Dig deeper. You don't need to become a mechanic to save money on car maintenance. Several common maintenance tasks are genuinely easy, require minimal tools, and save you meaningful money compared to shop prices. Tier 1. Anyone can do these. Air filter replacement. The engine air filter lives in a plastic box under the hood, held closed by a few clips. Open the box, remove the old filter, drop in the new one, close the box. 5 minutes. A shop charges $30 to $60 for this. The filter costs $10 to $20 at a parts store. Cabin air filter replacement, usually behind the glove box. Open the glove box, remove a clip or panel, slide the old filter out, slide the new one in. 5 minutes. A shop charges $40 to $80. The filter costs $10 to $25. Wiper blade replacement. Pull the old blade off, snap the new one on. 2 minutes per blade. A shop charges $30 to $60 installed. The blades cost $15 to $30 at any auto parts store. Topping off fluids. Windshield washer fluid, coolant top-off, checking oil level. These are basic checks that require nothing more than opening the hood and locating the correct reservoirs. Your owner's manual has a diagram. Tier 2. Basic tools and a YouTube video. Oil changes. A jack stands, a drain pan, a socket wrench, a filter wrench, and 20 minutes. The parts, oil and filter, cost $25 to $50 depending on your car. A shop charges $50 to $100 or more. Over a car's lifetime, DIY oil changes save hundreds or thousands of dollars. The first one takes you 45 minutes because you're learning. The 10th one takes you 15 minutes because it's muscle memory. Battery replacement. Disconnect the terminals, negative first, unbolt the hold-down clamp, lift the old battery out, set the new one in, reconnect, positive first. 15 minutes. A shop charges $30 to $50 in labor on top of the battery price. You pay just the battery price. Spark plug replacement. On many 4-cylinder engines with easily accessible plugs, this is a socket wrench, a spark plug socket, and a gap gauge. Some engines, particularly V6 and V8 layouts where plugs are buried under intake manifolds, are significantly more difficult and might warrant professional help. Brake pad replacement requires a jack stands, a socket set, a C-clamp or brake piston tool, and about an hour per axle. Brake pads cost $30 to $80 per axle. A shop charges $150 to $300 per axle for pads only. This is the DIY job with the highest dollar savings for the effort involved. Tier 3. Leave it to the shop. Timing belt or chain replacement. Complex, time-intensive, and getting it wrong can destroy the engine. Transmission work. Suspension and alignment. Electrical diagnostics. Anything involving the fuel system at high pressure. Anything you're not comfortable with, because a botched DIY repair that damages the car costs more than paying a professional would have. The line between DIY and shop isn't fixed. It depends on your comfort level, your tools, your space, and your willingness to learn. But even Tier 1 tasks, the 5-minute, zero-skill jobs, save hundreds of dollars per year if you do them yourself instead of paying a shop. That's money you keep for doing something your 10-year-old self could have figured out with a YouTube video. The labor rate covers the entire shop's overhead, rent, equipment, insurance, staff, not just a mechanic's time. Book time is a standardized estimate for each repair that determines your labor charge regardless of actual clock time. Ask about overlap discounts when combining related repairs. The diagnostic fee pays for expertise, equipment, and getting the answer right the first time. It's the most valuable service a shop provides. Parts markups of 30 to 100% are standard and cover sourcing, warranty, and logistics. Dishonest tactics include unnecessary repairs, phantom diagnoses, part swapping, bait-and-switch billing, and charging for unperformed work. Defend yourself by asking to see problems, getting multiple estimates, and requiring approval for additional work. Find honest shops through recommendations, certifications, reviews, and small test visits. DIY tasks like filters, wipers, oil changes, and brake pads save real money with minimal skill. Mechanics aren't overpaid. Shops aren't printing money. Auto repair is a skilled trade performed by trained professionals using expensive equipment in a heavily regulated environment, and the pricing reflects that reality. the $150 labor rate, the diagnostic fee, the parts markup. These are how a legitimate business sustains itself while providing a service you genuinely need. The rip-offs are real but identifiable. They follow patterns: unnecessary recommendations, surprise charges, phantom problems, pressure to approve work immediately. Knowing those patterns and knowing how to respond, ask to see the problem, get second opinions, require authorization for additional work, research parts prices, puts you in control of a transaction that most people approach with blind trust and a credit card. The goal isn't to distrust every mechanic. The goal is to be informed enough to recognize the difference between a fair price for real work and an inflated price for invented work. That distinction saves you thousands of dollars over a lifetime of car ownership. And it starts with understanding why the bill says what it says. You have two main choices for repair: the brand's dealership service department or an independent repair shop. Both have strengths. Both have weaknesses. And the right choice depends on the situation. Dealership service departments charge more, often 30 to 50% more than independents for the same work. Their labor rates are higher. Their parts are OEM, original equipment manufacturer priced, and their overhead is enormous. You're paying for the brand name, the manufacturer-trained technicians, the factory diagnostic equipment, and the waiting room with free coffee and Wi-Fi. Where dealerships genuinely earn their premium is on warranty work, recalls, and model-specific issues. If your car is under factory warranty, the dealership is where warranty repairs happen at no cost to you. If there's a technical service bulletin or a known issue with your specific model and year, the dealership's technicians are more likely to be aware of it because they see the same cars every day and have direct access to manufacturer technical resources. For complex electrical issues, software updates, and problems that require manufacturer-level scan tools, the dealership often has capabilities that independent shops don't. Where dealerships don't earn their premium is on routine maintenance and common repairs. An oil change is an oil change. Brake pads are brake pads. A water pump replacement on a Honda Civic is the same procedure at a dealership as it is at an independent shop. The dealership just charges more for it. For standard maintenance and well-understood repairs, an independent shop offers the same quality at a lower price in most cases. Independent shops are generally cheaper, more flexible, and more relationship-oriented. You're more likely to talk directly to the technician working on your car. You're more likely to get a candid assessment of what's actually needed versus what's optional. And you're more likely to develop a long-term relationship where the shop knows your car's history, your driving patterns, and your budget, and makes recommendations accordingly. The risk with independence is variability. There's no corporate standard enforcing consistency. The independent shop down the street might be staffed by master technicians with 30 years of experience and state-of-the-art equipment, or it might be staffed by undertrained workers with outdated tools. Certifications, reviews, and recommendations help you identify the good ones, but the variability is wider than at dealerships. The smart strategy is to use both. Dealership for warranty work, recalls, and model-specific technical issues. Independent shop for routine maintenance, common repairs, and anything where you're paying out of pocket and the work doesn't require manufacturer-specific tools or software. This is one of the most persistent and damaging myths in auto repair, the idea that getting your car serviced at an independent shop voids your manufacturer warranty. It doesn't. It cannot by federal law. The Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act prohibits manufacturers from requiring you to use dealership service departments to maintain your warranty. You can get your oil changed at any qualified shop, your tires rotated anywhere, your brakes done by your uncle in his garage, and none of it voids your factory warranty, as long as the work is performed correctly and with appropriate parts. The only scenario where outside repair can affect warranty coverage is if the outside repair directly caused the failure you're claiming under warranty. If an independent shop installs the wrong oil filter, it leaks, and the engine is damaged. The manufacturer can rightfully deny a warranty claim for the engine damage because the outside repair caused the problem, but they can't deny a warranty claim on your transmission because you got your oil changed at Jiffy Lube. The two systems are unrelated. Keep your maintenance records. receipts from independent shops, records of oil changes, documentation of services performed. These are your proof that the car was properly maintained, regardless of where the work was done. If a dealer ever tries to deny a warranty claim because you didn't use their service department, cite the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act and escalate to the manufacturer's customer service department. The law is on your side. When you receive a repair estimate, it should be itemized. If it's not, if it's just a single total with no breakdown, ask for a detailed version. You have the right to see what you're paying for. A proper estimate breaks down into several categories. Labor. This should list each repair operation with its book time and the resulting charge. Replace water pump, 3.0 hours times $150, $450. If the estimate just says labor, $450, without specifying the operation and time, ask for the breakdown. You want to know what job they're charging for and how many hours they're billing. Parts. Each part should be listed individually with its price. Water pump, $185. Thermostat, $32. Coolant, $28. Gaskets, $15. This lets you research the parts prices independently and evaluate the markup. If the estimate just says parts, $260 with no detail, ask for the itemization. Shop supplies. A small charge, typically $10 to $50 for consumables like rags, cleaner, lubricants, and disposable materials used during the repair. This is standard and legitimate. If it's an unusually large number, ask what it covers. Fees and taxes. Environmental disposal fees for waste fluids and materials are common and legitimate. Sales tax on parts is standard. Any other miscellaneous fees should be explained if you ask. The total. This is what you actually pay. Compare it against the itemized components to make sure the math adds up. And remember, this is an estimate. The final bill might differ slightly if the actual repair reveals something unexpected, but any significant deviation should require your approval before the shop proceeds. If you're getting estimates for multiple shops for comparison, make sure they're comparing equivalent work. One shop might quote OEM parts while another quotes aftermarket. One might include a coolant flush as part of the water pump job while another doesn't. Make sure you're comparing the same scope of work at the same parts quality level. Otherwise, you're comparing apples to oranges and drawing the wrong conclusions about who's cheaper. If this video changed how you look at a repair estimate, or if you've been burned by a shady shop and want to share the story, hit like, drop your worst repair bill in the comments so we can collectively judge whether it was fair, and subscribe so you stop approving estimates you don't understand and start asking the questions that save you real money. Later.